In a way, yes, but it's something that you can hardly deal with because of the nature of the system. Now, remember what I said about registration at the International Registry. It's basically just a registration of the documents. That is, someone say that they have entered into a particular document or transaction about the aircraft. It does not tell you more than that. That's to say, well, let's suppose I'm the lessor of this aircraft to you. You and us have a lease agreement. So we register that lease agreement in the International Registry, and that's all. That's the IR record is able to tell you. It doesn't tell you whether I actually own the aircraft before I lease it to you. So it is not what we call a title registration. It doesn't prove who is the owner of the aircraft. Now, in practice, what does it mean? Let me give you two examples which we encounter in real life. Okay. So in example number one, we are helping an owner of an aircraft to sell his aircraft. And then when it goes to, when you do the transaction, as I said, people can check the records of the aircraft in the IR, right? So the potential buyer go check what have been registered against the aircraft and its engines. And to everyone's surprise, there is registered against the aircraft and its engine someone who said he or she has been owed some money in respect of the aircraft. Now, that is possible because the Cape Town Convention announced what they call non-consensual registration. That is, without your knowledge, without your consent, if you think you have a case against the owner or the lessee of the aircraft, you can do your registration without the knowledge of the other parties involved, without knowledge. So you don't really know that your aircraft have been registered against until the time you have got a transaction, you want to sell the aircraft. Now, basically, it then becomes very difficult for the seller or the owner of the aircraft to sell the aircraft unless it comes to a resolution with the other party, with the one who have registered something against the aircraft. That is to say, there is no prevention against, frivolous claims against the owner of the aircraft. Now, actually, I should qualify this. Actually, you can do something, but it costs money and time. You can go to the court. If you think that someone has wrongfully registered something against your aircraft, you can go to the court and say, hey, this is wrong. And if the court ordered this to be deregistered, you can still do so. But if you go to the court, it involves a lot of money, a lot of legal fees, time, and expenses. So in practice, well, there is a possibility, I'm not saying that everyone is abusing it, but there's a possibility or loophole that people can somehow abuse it in order to force the other party to, come to the negotiation table. So this is example number one. Example number two, now remember again, is the registration of the document. So in real life, an IR doesn't have the manpower, doesn't have the capacity to check everything. Right? It wouldn't ask you for the document and say whether the registration you're doing is actually relates to the aircraft that you are now trying to register something against. So in real life, we have seen people, mistakenly register the document against an unrelated aircraft. So, for example, the bank or the lessor give a request to the borrower or the lessee saying that, hey, I'm going to register our lease agreement or our mortgage, etc., against the aircraft, this particular aircraft with a particular MSN number. And the other party, the lessee, the borrower, being unaware of any mistake, say, yes, that's true, I'm having this transaction with you, so go ahead. So once that consent is given, then the lessor or the lender can do the registration without knowing that it itself has wrongfully described the aircraft with a different, unrelated MSN number. So fortunately, in an example, the parties realize they have made a mistake, so they rectify it themselves. But otherwise, some unfortunate people would have something registered against their aircraft, all of mistake and without people knowing it. So these are the practical problems.